It's a great day to talk hockey with Grant McCagg on HabsCast.
Thank you, Mr. Irvin. It is indeed a great day. I don't know. Supper time, I was bored. There was no hockey games I wanted to watch. And why don't I get on the live chat here? I miss my friends when I'm not. You're becoming regular buddies of mine on the HabsCast live chat. But I figured, I would put it up here for people. If you're watching on X, join us on the HabsCast YouTube channel and give us your thoughts. Should the Canadians even trade for somebody? Should they stand pat? Somebody mentioned that on Twitter that, the answers are in-house. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I only have so many ideas on who they should target. But why don't we give us your thoughts. Tell us who you think the Canadians should go after. I'm going to put up the standings here. These are all the teams below the Habs right now in the standings. Utah, Pittsburgh, Columbus, San Jose, Edmonton are all tied with the Canadians, 25 points each. Right now, it's hard to. I mean, yeah, there's teams that aren't at the bottom of the standings that could make trades. Typically, it's a team that's looking like shake things up a bit. Maybe we'll trade this guy for that guy, or whatever the case may be. But like with the Canadians, if they do, they are showcasing Engstrom and looking to deal him. There's a number of teams there that probably think he could help them right now. So it wouldn't necessarily, for a player like Engstrom, it wouldn't necessarily be a bottom feeder. It might be a team that's on the cusp, right? That would be interested in trading for Engstrom because he could help them right now on their defense. So in that regard, Adam Engstrom becomes a viable option for teams that are looking to even make the playoffs still, right? And that goes for just about every team, because there are none that are completely out of the playoff race. This seems to be Nashville's cut off there, but they're at the very bottom. But we know Nashville's obviously one of the ones that you would be targeting, right? But if you look at it, we have to look at. I put together a list of a few, and obviously, Nashville. You'd have to be looking at O'Reilly or Stamkos are the obvious ones that teams would be interested in. Somebody was mentioning Forsberg, but I doubt very much that Forsberg would be somebody that would be considered. I don't think that they'd be trading Forsberg. He's got 5 good productive years left in him, I think. O'Reilly and Stamkos are the more obvious. And Stamkos, obviously, you'd be looking to get them to retain some salary, and it'd be a really friendly move, right? You're not giving up much for Steven Stamkos at this point, given the size of his contract and his lack of production. But I do think that it may be just a change of scenery for Stamkos. Maybe he's done, and that would be the risk he'd be taking, that he won't find it again. It's possible, but I don't know. I mean, 2 years ago, he was a 40-goal scorer, and I have a hard time believing that somebody as good as Stamkos has just all of a sudden just completely lost it. I think if you had him on a team, an up-and-coming young team like Montreal, with the amount of talent that they have, it could rejuvenate him. Like I can see Cole Hudson feeding Stammer for that one timer. You know, uh, he could make that second power play pretty effective. You know what I mean? Um, they would have a lot of good pieces for two power plays if you got Steven Stamkos in a lineup. And Vinny Lecavalier and Marty obviously have history with him. It's funny sometimes, guys like they leave a conference and they're not as comfortable. And they go back to their old conference and they're comfortable. I know Stammer killed the Canadians a lot of times in the past, so I wouldn't I wouldn't discount um, uh, them looking. Vinny Lecavalier would certainly probably recommend him, right? I mean, he's the character, great character guy. He'd be great in the locker room. He'd be a great presence to have. I mean, he's done it all, right? Um, there's a lot of different factors other than just looking at how many points he's got right now and his salary. As long as Nashville was willing to, retain some of the salary and basically give him to Montreal, it it would have to be something that they would consider at least. But O'Reilly's the more likely target there. Um, somebody first comment here, Mark, saying something about worried about his foot speed. You know what? People have been worried about Ryan O'Reilly's foot speed since his draft year, and yeah, he's not the fastest guy out there, but um, you know, you, Montreal has a lot of speed, and having one or two guys that the you know aren't the fastest out there wouldn't be, because you need a mix, right? And O'Reilly obviously adds a lot more other things to the mix. Um, I was looking back at when I say the mix, I was looking back at the Habs teams from like the last time they won cups and stuff, you know, like 85, 86, right? They had 11 players, only 11 players played every game. So they had a lot of options and played a lot of people in the playoffs. But I mean, Carbonneau, Gainey, Skrudlin, Green, McPhee, Lawler, Maley, Nyland, Kordic, like, those were all tough, either tough and good defensively, tough, or just really good defensively, right? These weren't skilled guys. You got to have a mixture of skilled guys and and toughness, size, and defense, like guys that compete their balls off, right? So Montreal, what they may end up targeting is, size, competitiveness might be something that, is on the, people want, oh, we got to get that top two center, got to get that top two center. But if there's no trade out there that makes sense for them, they have to give up the farm or whatever, um, then uh, I wouldn't be surprised. Like Kapanen's doing the job, right? Uh, Doc's going to get back. He was playing pretty well, but I mean they could use another center. But if they don't find one, it's not necessarily what their target will be, um, especially if the price is too high. But looking back at the teams at the bottom here, Calgary, if they decide to sell, the obvious the obvious ones are like Kadri, and we've already discussed that a fair bit. I don't know. I mean, maybe the Canadians would be interested. I personally think just a little too long in the tooth there with the salary, what it is, and the 3 years left on the contract. I doubt that they would retain salary because I think they can get a decent return for Kadri. I'm just not sure that Montreal is the right fit there because I think Montreal's looking, 2 to 5 years down the road, and is he 3 years from now that you might regret having Nazem Kadri in the lineup. Backlund's a possibility if they want to shop Backlund, left-handed center, two-way. He'd be a nice replacement for Dvorak. Uh, it's a possibility. Maybe even like a Ryan Lomborg or something, like a minor deal where you pick up a little more sandpaper, right? Lomborg's not the biggest guy, but pound for pound, he's one of the toughest guys. One of the toughest guys in the league. He's tough and scrappy, and fourth line, just energy, toughness. Come playoff time and stuff. If Montreal, we're talking about a in Lomborg's case, obviously trade deadline type thing. If they want to add a little bit of depth and sandpaper, Lomborg would be somebody that I would at least explore. It won't cost you much. I wouldn't give much, but you get to other teams. Vancouver's right there. I don't know. I look at Vancouver's roster and I don't see them making the playoffs. Like, I think they'll be out. They'll be out of it. In a few weeks' time. I don't see them having the horses to compete in the West. It's pretty strong. Kiefer Sherwood, maybe a possibility that they'd explore. I was looking at the roster. There isn't much there. Atu Ratu, or however you friggin' pronounce it. If they, I don't know, like him being 24, they probably wouldn't want to deal him, but he's left center, and he's always been really good on faceoffs. Good size. It'd be somebody that I think that they would at least, kick the tires on. I don't know whether he'd ever be available, but someone like that mightn't be a bad addition. He can come in there and help in the face-off circle, but also a half-decent player too. But given that he's 24 and Vancouver's probably, they aren't going to be looking to deal. They'll be looking to deal older guys, but there isn't much on that roster. And Sherwood, I don't know, the comment he made at Slav about, knock you out of the Olympics and stuff. I don't know how well that went over in the Habs dressing room. You get over those things sometimes, but I don't know. Maybe he's a bit of a doughhead, making comments like that. I don't know. The Canadians may not explore someone like that either. St. Louis. Well, Robert Thomas, I really don't think that they have any interest in dealing him. I don't know. I mean, they're still in the playoff race too, but if they do fall out, Braden Shen is you'd have to think would be somebody that they would be looking to deal. Left, he would be a nice fit for Montreal. I really do think so. He's gritty. He won a cup with them, playing the second line center role. Left shot center, always 54% plus in the faceoff dot, so he's very good on draws. I don't think it would cost that much to get Shen. He's getting, he's probably on the downside of his career, but he's still a very good player. I'd certainly, if I'm Kent Hughes, be interested in Braden Shen if the price was right. I think there's a good fit there for the Canadians. Jordan Kyrou, another guy that maybe, although I don't know. I think they need grittier players, and do they need another speedy kind of little bit perimeter guy? I think Kyrou. I don't consider Kyrou to be all that gritty, but there's skill there, and certainly, I mean, if the right deal came along, they'd have to consider it. Maybe a guy like Toropchenko if they want to add, a torpedo in the bottom six, some size, and again depth at playoff time, right? I think at the trade deadline, if St. Louis is out of it, someone like Toropchenko, teams that are heading to the playoffs, and especially teams like Montreal that could use some more size, would be interested in picking up the big Russian. He's not going to get a lot of points for you, but he's pretty effective on the forecheck. Get the puck stays in um, the offensive zone, the defensive zone quite a bit. So and then you get down to the Rangers. I mean, obviously, Will Cooley would be the perfect player. But looking at their roster, um, there's not there aren't a lot of options there. Zibanejad and he's a right shot. Trocheck's a right shot. So I don't see the Canadians trading for another right shot center. If they do pick up a center, it's going to be a left shot. I'm pretty certain of that. Alexei Lefrenière, would the Canadians take a flyer on him? How long has it been rumored that the Canadians might try to trade for Lefrenière? I don't know. I'm not the biggest Lefrenière fan. I think he's somebody that's just underachieved since he made the NHL. Not sure about his character. Doesn't work that hard. I would be reluctant to be trading for Lafreniere, but I don't know. I mean, the home province boy, would it inspire him? I don't know. I mean, he hasn't been that inspired in the past, so I don't know if that would change. I mean, Drouin, there was too much pressure. Would it be the same for Lafreniere? As a former first overall pick, if he was picked up by the Canadians, the microscope would be on him. That's for sure. If it didn't cost the Canadians a lot, then it wouldn't be as much pressure. But being that he's 24, being that he was a first overall pick, I still think that the Rangers would be looking for a fairly attractive return for Lafreniere. And, if the Canadians did do that and he struggled out of the gate, fans and media would be all over him. So, but in looking at the Rangers, I don't see too many. And you can weigh in. I'll start looking at some of the live chat answers there in a minute. Just round out teams that maybe if they're out of the playoff race. Obviously Buffalo is another one, right? Like, these are the teams at the bottom. I can't see the Leafs making any significant deal with the Habs. I just don't. That's not a trading partner typically, right? So I wouldn't think I don't think you'd be looking at. But Buffalo, if they fall out, and again, right now, I don't know that any of these teams at the bottom think they're right out of it. So, except for perhaps Nashville. But as you get closer to the trade deadline, and if they don't get Alex Tuch signed, Tuch, hey, they already got the Jackeye brothers. Maybe have the Tuch brothers playing in the Habs organization, and maybe it would maybe Alex if he was in the same organization as his brother, would be more inclined then to sign with the Canadians, right? Uh, I'm sure he's got lots of feedback on what it's like playing in Montreal, Laval, from Luke, and playing for the Canadians, and like playing for the organization. And I'm sure he's got good reviews. I mean, Tuck would be a perfect addition, I think. You know, if you could ever get him, size, scoring, like there is a nice addition. Put Alex Tuck with, you know, if you wanted to keep Slav, Kapanen, and Demidov together, Alex Tuck with Caulfield and Suzuki. I don't, that's a decent looking top six, I think. A little bit of everything there, nice balance. So I don't know. I'd consider Alex Tuck. I'd even, you know, probably even more than Tage Thompson, because Thompson costs more, right? He's not a free agent to be. He's, I don't know that he's more I think Tuck's more rugged. Thompson would cost more. So, Jordan Greenway, would they want to deal Greenway? There'd be a player that would be a good addition to the Canadians. They could use another big, physical, tough body, and Greenway would, you know, if the Canadians hope to do anything in the playoffs, if they are in the playoffs, a player like Greenway would be a good addition for the playoffs. I don't know if Buffalo, like all these guys are big, right? Buffalo, I don't wouldn't make sense for them to get rid of their big guys, but their GM hasn't made, you know, it didn't make sense them getting rid of Dylan Cousins either, or Josh Norris, but they did. So who knows? But Ryan McLeod, there's the other guy, I guess, right? A left 6'3" center, left-handed, good two-way center, has some jam. But you know, they just traded for him a couple of years ago, and probably I would think he's, you know, he's mid-20s, right? And likely they're hoping to have him as part of the future. But those would be the four guys from Buffalo that if, you know, if there were trade talks with them, I'd at least explore them, with Alex Tuck being, I think, would be the perfect addition if you could ever get him. So there's some guys that I looked at the rosters of the bottom teams there, and those are a few names that I think might be considered. So let's get to some comments here. In honor of your buddy, Paul, yeah, who are the top 5 Greeks to ever play in the show? Yeah. Well, I don't know. You expect me to, like, what? Do I have a database in my head of all the Greek players that have ever played in the league? I don't know. Frick. I, you know, can't think of too many off the top of my head. Alex Del Vecchio is Italian, right? That's their neighbor. Does that count? I don't know. Greeks. Stamkos. Stam would be right there. I'd have to think about it. I'd have to have a list. You'd have to give me a list. Greek players. Talk about getting off subject there, Renaissance Resistor. You're not with the program here at all. I think O'Reilly and Stammer could come in a package with shorter term money coming back the other way. Oh, get both of them. Well, I don't know about that, but I mean, yeah, sure. Yeah, people, like, I know the contract and term are heavy, but the Habs have the room, and especially if they take back they take back salary. Francois thinks O'Reilly would cost a lot. Maybe. Almost every team will want him, so Preds can ask for a lot. Yeah, but the Canadians are a team that can afford to give away a first-round pick for sure and an A prospect. So I don't have any issue with the Canadians giving up an A prospect or a first-round pick for Ryan O'Reilly because I really think he can help. And the Canadians, with an O'Reilly in the lineup, I think that's a piece that just would be really be helpful. Yeah, I looked at Huberdeau, Jacques Lachance, but his salary is crazy bad. I just, again, if Calgary was somehow retaining like half of it or something, you'd think about it, but Fantilli, well, again, like the other team has to. Fantilli makes no sense because Columbus isn't going to trade him. Surin, same deal. They're not trading him. Nugent Hopkins, yeah, that's a possibility. But Edmonton, I don't. Edmonton's going to make the playoffs. I'd be pretty surprised, or they're not going to be out of it at the trade deadline. And McDavid wouldn't like it too much if they traded away Nuge. They're in the playoff race. I can't see RNH getting dealt. Perfetti, same deal with the other two. He's not even in his prime yet. I don't think Calgary deals Perfetti. Francois, Brock Nelson costs a lot. Kill him to the Habs. Costs a lot. Yeah. O'Reilly will cost as much, if not more. Yeah. Well, Canadians have the space. I don't consider Caleb Ritchie to be all that in the bag of chips either. Stamkos doesn't play hard anymore. I think he would be rejuvenated. Grant, down to my fourth beer since the start of the chat. I got a hat trick already. Oh, I know who that is. Zeph. Zeph likes his pints. Good man. Stammer makes the most sense from a timeline and asset standpoint for the Habs, says Jake Moore, 1619. Yeah, I think he does make some sense. And by the way, if you're watching this on X live, hop on over to the YouTube, HabsCast YouTube, and weigh in. That's where I'm taking comments from. So weigh in on the, come on over to YouTube channel and weigh in on the live chat. Give us your thoughts. It's funny, eh? Surin. That's the guy I wanted the Habs to draft when they took Hage. I mean, I like Hage a lot, but Surin, he's he's a gamer, man, and he's like top 25 in scoring in the KHL, and he's freaking only turned 19 or 20, one or the other. 19, I guess, in the like late summer. Yeah, I love Surin. I mean, frig. If you could somehow get Stamkos and Surin, sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I'd take Surin in a heartbeat. Love him. Glenn S. Quarter season done with crazy logjam teams. Trades would be difficult. Oh, yeah. No, but things will, by the trade deadline, we'll have, there'll be teams out of it. And that's why I only mentioned the ones at the bottom, because, I mean, Jesus. The odds that Pittsburgh, Utah, Columbus, San Jose, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Washington, they're all, and Florida, they're probably all still going to be either in the playoffs or damn close at the trade deadline. So, I don't know how many teams are going to be sellers, and that's the problem. But there will be. and most likely the teams that I mentioned there, you know, there'll be players that will be available, but may end up costing a little more this year because there'll be less teams selling, right? Um, da, 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 da. Yeah, I know, Francois. You've said it about 20 times that you wouldn't take Stamkos, and yeah, um, Chris Hansen, no reason to do anything else. They play a lot of games through New Year's. They may be in a good spot to do anything else. Well, what have they done, Chris? They've lost 4 forwards. So do anything else other than what? Keep losing forwards? They need somebody. They need some help. And they need yeah, and here's the other part too, right? You don't have to keep these just because you get a player doesn't mean you know, oh, 4 years, like, yeah, but do the 4 years have to be with the same team? Like that goes for Stamkos even, you know. Frick, they don't have to stay. They don't have to stay for the length of their contract. People always like, don't worry about 4 years from now. Montreal's in the next 3 years, they're in contention. So, and this year too, like, you know, the people say no, you know, leave it as it is. Well, this like Florida was heavy favorites in the East, but without Barkov, you know, it's wide open. Montreal stands as good a chance as any if they get the right pieces, but they need a couple of pieces. They don't have enough grit to win 3 playoff series, I don't think, as stands right now. And that to me is something that they need to address over the next 2 months up to the trade deadline. Jacques Lachon is saying O'Reilly has brain speed. That's a good way of putting it. O'Reilly wins faceoff, still a good, yep, for sure. Yeah, Scott Powell. Gorton and Kent in faith, they know. I gotcha. Wouldn't put it past Hughes to get Lefrenière. Well, I don't know. If you know Lefrenière and you know the background, you probably aren't itching to get him. I'll just say it. I'll just put it that way. And I think Hughes probably knows. I don't know. Justin Mail. Hey, there's a new name. Only player over 30 I'd use to assets to acquire is Crosby. Well, that goes without saying. Yeah, I've said it 100 times. Crosby's a freak, and he'd be good for another 5 years. But Pittsburgh doesn't look like they're going to be out of the city would go up on end, would be turned upside down if they're like 3 points out of the playoffs at the trade deadline and they traded Crosby. So I really don't think this is the year. Yeah, media picked up that Nashville's head scout was in attendance, I do believe. Werenski and Olivier just left the game and not returning. Still early to see if Columbus start to sell. They don't look. Jake Moore, I'm not giving up any major assets for any aging center at this point if I can't use. Yeah, well, not with the way Cappy's been playing. I'm with you. Rick Springhetti. Like many people here, I think O'Reilly would be a good pick up for the third line. He's a left-handed shot who can still play on the PK. When Newhook returns, I can see a line of O'Reilly, Bolduc, Doc. Yeah. I could see that too, but then who's in the top 6 then, Rick, in Bolduc's spot? If Newhook, oh, yeah, right. You're saying Newhook goes back to okay, goes back to the second line. Then you've got O'Reilly, Bolduc, Doc. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nick Pervix. Well, I keep seeing Nick Pervix as a option now. Zorowski won't be in the NHL another 2-3 years. Impact player for 4 to 5. Well, how do you know it'll be 4 to 5, Francois? We don't know that. I would still consider him a trade bait for a 26-year-old that can help now. I mean, Zorowski's already an impact player in the KHL at 18, so he might be an impact player in 3 years. But yeah, he's got to be Hage and Zorowski both. Engstrom, like none of these guys are untouchable. The only prospect in the system the only two prospects that I can see them, I don't see the Canadians trading are Fowler and Reinbacher. I'd be shocked if either of those guys got traded, but it wouldn't shock me if Hage or Zorowski got dealt. I mean, it would be for a hell of a return, but the Canadians, if they get a hell of a player, and then the guys return, I think they've got a really legitimate shot of winning the East. So, yeah. Drum Dude, hey folks, who does he play for? Is that a Nashville fourth liner or? Good day, Drum Dude. Simon LeBlanc. I know he got a slow start, but Braden Shen could be a good target. Well, see, that's it too, though, right? Slow start. So, I don't think the Blues can ask the world for Braden Shen. I like Braden Shen. I know some guys don't want a mid-30s, but I'm telling you, you need veterans to win at playoff time, and to me, Braden Shen is a character guy, a gritty, smart, competitive leader, good leader. I wouldn't mind Braden Shen, and I don't know, because of his slow start, that it would cost you a hell of a lot. Yeah. Jake Moore thinks Sky falling outside is more likely than the Habs trading Zorowski right now. Zorowski in the last 5 or 6 games, I don't think has got a point. I don't know what's been going on there. They're not getting him. He's getting the rookie Russian treatment too, eh? And not playing a hell of a lot. Vancouver should be buyers because Hughes will be flying the coop if he's not happy. I don't know. They should freaking trade Hughes and just blow that thing all up. I think they're not winning with Hughes, so you make deals to miss the playoffs and then sacrifice your future even more. Vancouver's in a tough spot right now. Zorowski for Dvorsky. Oh yeah, you know how much I like Dalibor. Simon LeBlanc. I think Zorowski, Hage, and Reinbacher are going nowhere. Yeah. You never know. Put it this way. One of Zorowski or Hage won't be in the top 6 for the next 3 or 4 years, or maybe ever. So, do you want to win over the next 3 or 4 years? And I think the Canadians are poised to do that. I think they might. So, I don't know. For the right deal, Hage is expendable for me. I can't see the Habs acquiring Sidney Crosby, and I only say this because my instinct continue to fail me. Going with the George Costanza strategy. There you go. Yeah, the opposite always happens with with what Rick says sometimes. That's funny. Mark, hope they don't trade for Kyrou. Yeah, yeah, we're on the same page there. 3 players: Forsberg, Crosby, or McTavish. If not them, use your prospects. Yeah. Well, we know for sure that McTavish is. I don't know why I keep seeing that kid's name. Like, he got signed, right? He got signed in the offseason. That Anaheim's like an up and coming team. Mason McTavish. Both teams got to be. It has to make sense for both teams, and trading Mason McTavish makes. If there's, is there a number below 0? If there is, that number percent chance that Anaheim's trading Mason McTavish. Yeah, and Pettersson I would not trade for either. Elias Pettersson, no. Mark saying Vancouver's never going to win with Pettersson. They traded the wrong player. Yeah. Miller looks like he's on the downswing too, though. Maybe they should have traded both of them. Got rid of the headache altogether. I don't see anybody there that would help the Habs. Yeah, well, I don't know if you tuned in at the start, Rick, or not, but I went over it. It was Atu, maybe, because he's good on faceoffs. He's a 6'2" left center, maybe. But there's not much on that roster that the Canadians would be going after, I don't think. Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon want this team to be good for a very long time. They will not spend major assets to bring in. Well, see, the thing is, Jake, is that they have the best under 24 core in the league. I mean, they are stocked. So they can afford, at this point, to get rid of a major asset. If, if it's the right player. Like 33 is not too old if you're a good player and if you're the right player and the right fit. I'm not sure who like you're talking about at 33, but now when you say major asset too, like I don't know, like Reinbacher, Fowler aren't getting traded. Probably not Jarowski, maybe Hage. But would you trade Hage for a 33-year-old center or 33-year-old player? Maybe not, Now, if that's, it depends on your definition of major assets, and it depends on what 33-year-old vet you're talking about, because there's some pretty damn good ones out there. You know what I mean? Francois, $5. Thanks, my friend. Said you said you know what I think of Dalibor Dvorsky, but I actually don't know what you think of him. Okay. Well, I figured you must know since you brought him up. I ranked Dvorsky 3rd overall in his draft class, so okay, I figured you must have known that because you were bringing him up for Jarowski for Dvorsky. But no, I'm a huge Dalibor Dvorsky guy. I think he's going to be a really good one, but St. Louis thinks that too. I was beside Torelli, who's now like their head pro scout or whatever, and talking about Dvorsky. Where was I? In Belleville a couple of years ago. His brother scouts for Boston, I believe, or Edmonton. Or no, I guess they're both with St. Louis now, but I was standing with those two, and he was talking about how much he liked Dvorsky. I don't think that Dalibor is going anywhere. Pierre, we need a 3C, so O'Reilly is a man. Yeah, could be. That's why I put him in the. I don't know if you noticed my thumbnail. Ryan O'Reilly. We're not getting too many other names here. Mark suggests that people should hit like and subscribe. You know what, Mark? That's a good idea. Or even hit give Grant money if there's that button. I don't know if there's that button there, but that'd be good too. Hey, Koo 62. I don't know if he's an Islander fan coming in for a chirp. It's a new name, though. Emil Heineman. Yes. Don't get me started on Emil Heineman. Never got rid of him, but we're happy with Dobson. Scott Powell. Yes, Grant Greenway and Anderson. Yeah, I know. Jordan Greenway, Josh Anderson with Jake Evans, Powell, Kapawi, Kapu, Tom Kostopoulos. There we go. Did you see the highlight of him scoring in overtime the other day? I did say Ryan McLeod in Buffalo might be a choice. Yeah, I did. Yep, exactly. I did mention him, Jacques. Greeks, Chelios. Yeah, of course, eh? Oh, that's what Kostopoulos. That was for Greeks. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'd have to have a list of Greeks to tell you. Lefrenière is a left shot. Yes, but he's not a center, so it doesn't really matter that he's a left shot, right? Unless you think he can play center. The last time the Leafs and Habs traded, 1985. Yeah. Yeah. Mark, what have the Sabres done in the past 15 years that has made sense? Yeah, exactly. You got it, Pontiac. And Alex Tuck is apparently asking for a lot of money on his next contract. Yeah. Yeah. Well, even if you got him for a playoff run again, and maybe he falls in love. He falls in love with Montreal. Little brother Luke's here. The family loves it. And he says, okay, I'll take, 9 million or 8 million or whatever the price might be to stay with the Habs. But funnier things have happened. Remember when Kovalev got traded to Montreal? And thought, okay, if this is only for, the end of the year, and he fell in love with the city and ended up signing for a few years. So, Mark Grant, who do you think the Habs will realistically try to acquire out of all? Who do you think could be available? Well, I went through it. Like, I think all of those guys are possibilities. So, O'Reilly's at the top of the list. I think they'll look at Tuck if he's there. There's like all of these guys that are possibilities. That Shen, Jordan Greenway if he's available. But there aren't a pile. There's not a pile of them. Stamkos is another one I think that they'll consider because there's history there. Marty and Vinny. I could see Stamkos. They picked up Line A, right? So Kent's not afraid to make that kind of deal, and I wouldn't put it past him, considering Stamkos. But you know how Kent works too, right? He doesn't pull the trigger. He waits till the other team's like, oh well, all right, we'll retain this much salary, and all right, we'll give you this too, and da da da. Then he goes, oh, okay, we'll take him off your hands, right? Yeah. Shen at 2 years at 6.5 mil. Yeah, that's not. Braden Shen brings a lot more than. You can't just look at the points with Braden Shen, and I think maybe you are. Points and age. There's a lot of reasons why you grab Braden Shen. Who cares about the salary if you got the space? Doesn't matter one iota, and it's only 2 years. They've got the space for it. That's not an exorbitant salary for a second line center. It's right in line with it. Who would you like a number 2 trade above him? I don't get that. Scott Powell saying, "Hey, we both love Cap, but who would you like a number 2 trade above him?" I'm not sure what exactly that means. I think the Canadians like Cappy playing with Demidov and would probably keep those guys together. And like was mentioned by Rick, they would, you bring in O'Reilly and put him with like Doc and Bolduc, or if they bring in Shen, put him with Doc and Bolduc. You need 3 really good lines. Well, 4 really, but 3 really good lines to win 3-4 rounds in the playoffs. And I don't know when you say, well, get a number 2 center. Well, 2A, 2B, right, would be the ideal thing. This is, I think, Kapanen can and is a 2 second line center. Can be, will be, is. So you get O'Reilly or Shen, and they're 2B, right? That's what good teams have. They have like 3 centers that on a lot of teams could be second line, could be top 2 centers. And that's the way I look at it. Unless our goaltending turns around, no need for trades this year. Well, that could also be what they trade for too, eh? I'm surprised that I didn't mention any goalies, but goaltending might be something that if it doesn't turn around, the good thing, Kevin, about it is that if things don't turn around, with Monty over the next 2 or 3 weeks, well, they'll have to consider, well, first of all, bring somebody up. But if there's still some problems there, they could trade unless they fall completely out of the race. But it's just so tight. I don't see that happening. So they'll address it. They're not going to go the whole season with 2 struggling goalies if they're in the if they remain in contention. I'm assuming that I don't see them just not doing anything and falling out of the race. Just that's not what Molson wants now. He wants to compete. He got a taste of the playoffs. The boss wants him back in there. Wants those gate receipts. Thoughts on Texier? Not a lot. I don't know. I haven't really been watching him. I don't expect a big surprise. Speedy kid. He can contribute, but I don't know. I don't see him as being He's kind of like another Veleno type, right? Can help you out. He's a little faster than Veleno, but I don't find him to be overly gritty. So I don't know that that's a long-term solution. I think he may end up being sent down when injuries get better, sent down Laval and help them win a championship would be what I think for him, or 13th, 14th forward or whatever. This type of trade makes sense once the Habs are close to a long cup run. Yeah, well, who, Fred? Thank you for your comment. So who? What are the teams in the East that are close to a long cup run this year? That are any more close to a long cup run than Montreal this year? There aren't very many. Like New Jersey's coming from, uh, they weren't great last year. They're young. Like they're at the top now, and I mean Carolina never. They always fizzle out in the playoffs. They got rid of. I don't think they're as good this year. Um, Toronto is nowhere near as good as they were. Florida, all the teams that were in the Final Four last year have all regressed this year. So it's up for grabs. And if Montreal gets the pieces that they need and the goaltending straightens out, they've got as much talent as anybody in the East, and they can win. They can go on a long cup run. They can. You know, people thought I was crazy the year that the COVID year when I said, "Hey, the Canadians can beat the Leafs and they can, they can compete." And what they do, they went to the friggin' Cup Finals. So, you can say, "Oh, the Habs." So, no. Well, it's even more wide open than it was that year. And you know, get to the playoffs, and you never know what happens. But if they do get to the playoffs, have a lineup, that can compete, and that's not going to happen unless they make a couple more deals. So, no, the window's now. This group's ready. They're ready to make some noise from here on in. Even going 2 rounds would be fantastic. The city go nuts. So go for it. And the experience for all the young guys, right? So don't make any trades, and either don't make the playoffs or lose in the first round. You think is the better for the long run? It's all about this. It's all about confidence, right? One of the reasons why the Canadians came out of the gate so strong this year was because they went to the playoffs last year. If they'd missed the playoffs, they wouldn't have had that extra swagger and said, "Okay, well, we're a playoff team now." Well, if they don't better what they did last year, if they either miss the playoffs or get beat in 4 or 5 games in the playoffs again because they didn't make any moves because we're only worried about 3 or 4 years down the road, that doesn't build the culture, the winning culture that they're trying to build here. So it goes beyond. It's not just the future. It's you make steps, right? And for them to make another step, I think it's important for them to do better than they did last year. They're going to have to make a trade or two. They need, like, the next step is to win a playoff series or maybe win 2, right? And if they don't, like, that's part of the building a winner for the long term too, is to to get into to play 10 to 20 playoff games before you're really you really are cup contenders. So no, I think it's important that the Canadians try to win at least one playoff series this year. But I think the East, and if they get the right pieces, they could win the East this year. So this is not a year to sit on your hands, I don't think, and say, "Nah, we're building for the future." They've been building for the future the last 4 years. Even so, The future's now, as far as I'm concerned. Sloop John B. Good day. Can you ever see a sign and trade involving Mike Matheson? No. No. I don't see that. Thanks, Sloop John B. Waybell. I can't see Hugo trading any of our top prospects. They're in for the long haul. We're still in rebuild mode. We're still a ways from compete for the cup. Yeah, well, we're not exactly on the same page on that, Wayne, but that's fine. I would never trade Hage for a center that's 30 plus. Yeah. Wow. Telling you guys, you're going to be disappointed by Michael Hage if you really think that he's just all that in a bag of chips. There's going to be a lunch bag letdown down the road. I know prospects, you always think, they're better than what's on the team, but we'll see with Hage, but there's no guarantees there, folks. We've been really high on prospects before, and it ended up being disappointing. Just don't put him on too high a pedestal there just yet. I still need to see him do something against strong teams for consistently. I've never seen him play 2 good games in a row against a strong team in college yet. He'll have one okay night, the next night, no. He disappeared in the playoffs last year. Disappointing. There's work to be done there. He's far away from being the answer down the road. Like, you don't know with it. The thing is, with a prospect, you can hope that he's going to be great, but you don't know that. And if you get a player that you already know that's proven in the NHL that can help you win when there's a window there for you to win now, Montreal, like, I can easily name 6 guys that Michael Hage is going to have a hard time beating out for a top 6 spot on the Canadiens for the next 5 years. Like, he's not beating out Suzuki. He's not beating out Caulfield. He's not beating out Slav. He's not beating out Demidov. He's probably not beating out Kapanen. And people might disagree with me on that, but Kapanen, like, just brings so many things that Hage doesn't at this point. He's probably not beating out Jarosky. Maybe he doesn't beat out Bolduc. So, this thought that there's no way that you trade a guy that may never be better than your 7th or 8th forward. I mean, realistically, and won't help you for 3 or 4 years, and certainly won't be a top 7 forward on the team for the next 3 years. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, I've watched him quite a bit, and while he's a good prospect, all of those guys I named are good, right? And who's to say they don't pick up another guy that will be better than him for 3 or 4 years? So, Michael Hage is expendable. If the right player comes along, you have to consider it. But hey, that's me, and everyone's entitled to their opinions, right? But I just be careful about, thinking that Michael Hage is just going to lead them to the promised land, when we'll see. But I like him as a prospect, but that's all he is a prospect. He's a maybe. Maybe he'll be good. Maybe he'll be great. But we'll see. There's my semi-rant for the day. Steven, if I was Hughes, I would trade my draft choices with players that resemble each other. There's going to be too many defensemen in the next 2 years. Yeah. Well, that's not a bad, I know what you're saying there. And I agree to a certain extent. I think they need another power forward at the top, somewhere in the top 9 for sure. anyway, it's an interesting dynamic. What I get that you don't want to trade Hage because he might turn out to be a second line center. He might, but there's no guarantees on that. And if you can get a guy that is a second line center for him, it, you have to consider it because there's other guys coming up too that in 3 years can replace the guy that they get now, right? So anyway, that's my thought on it. Thoughts on Engstrom being called up? I know the other day you weren't agreeing with it. I find it interesting too. We have too many lefty. Well, we'll wait and see why he was called up, right? I mean, the last road trips they called up Del Gaizo, like they have been calling up they're off all week, right? Laval doesn't play, so they may just have called him up as a cookie, saying, "Here, you're close. Come practice with us. Come with us for a week. Bond." Maybe he gets in one game. My thought would be if he does, it would be Colorado in the back-to-back, and especially right if one of them one of the players, either Jackeye or Struble struggles against these teams the next couple nights, then it makes the decision a little easier to say, well, look, we're going to give Engstrom a look, but and I think Colorado, it's the faster team, and Engstrom's a good skater. Vegas typically is pretty big and rugged. May not want to throw him to the fire there. So my thinking would be if they do play him a game, it would be Colorado probably, but we'll see. He's certainly a good prospect. There's no doubt about that. Love McLeod, perfect 3C for us. Yeah, I did mention McLeod. But does he's in his mid-20s. Do they want to get rid of him? Seattle's got some centers, yeah. But you know what? Seattle's 5th overall in the league right now. They're not trading anybody. They're not dealing with anyone. Getting lots of comments here. I'll try to get caught up, folks. Finally, I will go after Matthew Olivier. Yeah. If you want to win all the fights, I guess that's the guy to get. I'm up to trading Slav for Tage. Okay. Next. Wayne's got a good point there. We need more teams to fall off, so more options available. Yeah. No, that's right. Unless they can make a deal with Nashville that makes sense. Ideally, I wouldn't, I don't think I'd want to trade Hage for O'Reilly. I mean, I get that. But certainly, Engstrom and a high pick, I would do that. Like, there's just, there's such an embarrassment of riches on defense that something along those lines would certainly make sense. And I think Nashville could probably use Engstrom too. I don't think they'd mind him at all. So you never know, something along those lines, right? Why bother? Most deals can't makes turn out to be busts. Okay. Ask Doc or Lonnie or New Hook, okay, all busts. Forkia, what are you saying? Like, don't talk nonsense. You'd be gone pretty quickly if you keep putting up nonsense like that. What do you mean all busts? You're saying Bolduc's a bust 18 games after getting traded for. You're saying Carrier's a bust? Don't be silly. New Hook playing fantastic when he got hurt. He's not a bust. Fuck. Grant Hughes and Gordon has not impressed me as of yet. Still soft to soft weather on defense or up front. They're starting to come out of the weeds here, right? 3 out of 6 points in our next 3 games. Yeah, well, we'll see. I think they'd be happy with 2 to 4. Can't see them getting more than that. Somewhere between 2 and 4 points. The issue that I have acquiring the 30-year-olds with term for good assets is that you don't have those good assets anymore for better acquisition in the future. Yeah. But again, Francois, Montreal's got the best under 24 car. There's only simple math tells you that there's not a place for all of these good assets. You know, there just isn't. So at some point, you got to trade those assets for players that'll help you now. You know, that's it. That's how it's been done forever in the NHL. Is you build till you've got a good team, and Montreal has a good team. You build your assets, and there are very few teams that A are as competitive and B have the assets, the young assets that Montreal has, and that also includes lots of draft picks coming up here, right? Like one of Jarosky and Hage, maybe both, aren't going to be in the top 6 anytime soon. Like it could be 5 years, or they may never. So that's because they have a good team and good young players. So, you know, and it's the same thing on defense, like with Engstrom and stuff. So do you hold on to these guys forever and they never get it? You know, they never get to play top 6 or top 4 on defense when you can get a player that already is that like can help you win now. The Canadians need to. It's time. It's time. They have the excess assets to do it. So you can't just keep. All right. Sorry, Fork you, but we don't need all that negativity. You're gone. Simon LeBlanc, do you think Barrett Hayton is available? Just saw you live right now before bed. Hope all is well, Grant. Really looking forward to see what Habs decide to do going forward. Yeah, things are good there, Samurai Knight. Thanks. Thanks for joining in. Seattle. Why are people talking about Seattle? They're 5th in the league, guys. 5th overall. 5th. Samurai Knight. I would like to know who you would go out and get, and what kind of trade mock up you would. Okay. Well, you missed the start of it, I guess. There, I listed a bunch of guys that could be available there. Totally agree, Grant. Can't be like the Leafs and never make it past round 1. Yeah, well, yeah. There's a good example of a team. Did they build team culture by never getting past the first round? What about Buffalo? You know, finishing with a top 10 pick 10 years in a row. Was that the answer? All these promising prospects that were going to take them to the promised land? Well, not if they they're growing together and they never win. They keep not making the playoffs. The culture begins to rot, and they never get good. So Montreal needs to make another step this year. They do. And I don't know that that's going to happen, especially with these injuries, unless they make a deal or maybe two. And I think you heard a lot less from the Hugo that they're not, I think that they want to win now, even though they're not saying it, but they're not saying the opposite, right? So, um, there's a good point that O'Reilly's not often hurt. Yeah. Yeah. Marty seems to really like Cappy. In a French interview, was praising that because of his good work. It was allowing Demidov to take out. Well, I've been saying that, That's one of the reasons why I like him playing with Demidov. He sits back. He's so good at covering up for the defenseman and for Demidov. Let those guys, let Hudson jump in with Demidov, do their things. And what's Cappy do? He's back. Like he's the most unselfish player. He's so unselfish. And that's one of the great things about him. He always, like, it can be a 4-on-2 and he'll come off the ice after 30 seconds because he has the opportunity to come off. He's team first, just in every regard, and people are starting to notice that. And yeah, Page is a hard worker. Yeah, okay. Page has to pick up his play away from the puck. That's always been the knock on him. Is he's not a hard worker. So we'll agree to disagree on that, Pierre. Pierre is always got to be the contrarian, eh? I'd take Shane, just don't see him being traded. I'd take Shen, just don't see him being traded. Yeah. Well, I think he could be. Oh, every second one's Pierre. Oh boy. Age for Crosby only in PlayStation trades. Yeah, really. Oh, Zeph's into his 6th or 7th pint now. Starting to get a little. Despite setbacks, I'm still excited for a future as the young prospects develop. There you go. Steven, the Habs will look different in a few years. No Doc line, they will re-sign Newhook. Will they re-sign Newhook? Oh, it's hard to say. Eh? I can't predict the future, but yeah, there's a lot of pieces there for sure. Some good points there, Steven. The Habs have 8 contracts available to be signed. Some teams are in the max and taking the contract as a possibility to acquire someone else in a package. Yeah, that's true. Three Habs will look pretty different in a few years. Yeah, for sure, man. Funny, Grant Snake still won't recognize Cap as a worthwhile player. Well, yeah. Took him till Hudson had about 60 points before he admitted that he wasn't just a gadget player last year too. So we'll see. Simon told me wait 5 years. Well, why didn't you wait 5 years to pigeonhole him as a 4th-line center then? That's what I, say, oh, he'll only be a 4th-line center. But then when he's playing 2nd line, say, well, wait 5 years. Well, why say it in the first place? I haven't said, oh, Kapanen's guaranteed 2nd-line center. All I've ever said is that I think he could play 2nd-line center. But Simon, who probably watched him play about 5 times in Europe, but looks at some stats that say, well, guys that played in the Sweden at 21 don't, and says, well, he'll never be more than a fourth line center because that's what the stats. Well, Simon and I have a differing opinion on that, and at least you know, as somebody that ran a Habs recruits Habs prospect site for years and watched Kapanen play more than 100 times before this year. I'm at least I'm saying it not by probabilities, but by what I scouted and saw from him the last 5 years. That I respectfully disagree that Kapanen can only be a fourth line center on a good team, because I think the Canadiens are a good team, and he can play second, third line center on a good team. I have no doubts about it. When I seen a Michigan Horkoff seemed more impressive than Page. Yeah, he looks like the real deal. I'm, I still want more from Hage. You can only have so many danglers. You're not going to win with 9 danglers in your top 9. You've got to have a mix there. Hage has made strides with his play away from the puck and his battle, and I'm impressed by that. But it's still inconsistent. He's never going to be a physical force, I don't think, and that's fine. But you need a mix in your top 9, and for me, that's a guy that would be, if the right piece came along, I would trade Hage. But I understand that people are reluctant because he was a top 22 pick, because he's at the top of the scoring in NCAA, even though most of the points came in blowouts against Mercyhurst and teams like that. But, I don't know that he is the perfect fit, and will be the answer and will take them to the promised land. It might be just like Ekstrom. Good players, good prospects, good. They'll play in the NHL. If they go to a team that's up and coming, that's a few years away, that has a spot in their top 6 in a couple of years, they might thrive. But will they thrive in Montreal? I don't know. There's just so many good young players that are ahead of them, at this point. So to me, Engstrom and Hage are players that, you don't want to trade, but you could. And when people say, "Oh, there's no way," that's a pipe dream, assuming that Hage is just going to be, a fantastic player, and we don't know that. We don't know that yet, but it's fun to have those conversations, and I don't expect everyone to agree with me. I certainly have my opinions, and everyone here is entitled to their opinions, and that's what makes it fun. That we can we can have intelligent conversations. Steven, once you have so many assets, make some Vegas type trades to go for the cup run. Yeah, I agree. All right, guys. Well, I think we'll get yeah, good night, Pierre. You just, when you post 50 times, Pierre, and it's all disagreeing, it gets tiring, buddy. Francois Bedard, what would you think about Habs acquiring UC Saros from Preds? Yeah, well, sure, but why would they trade Saros? He's probably another 5-10 years as their starting goalie. So I don't think I don't think he's going anywhere, to be honest with you. Well, we pretty much got caught up here. Grocery drinks from the fountain of youth. Yeah, really, eh? Absolutely. Preds might full rebuild. Well, maybe. But anyways, guys, almost an hour and a half in here. 737 people have tuned in. I appreciate that. Quickly, you got a couple of more comments, a couple more questions. That'd be great. But I was hoping, like, I was hoping for suggestions here, not just, talk about who we shouldn't get or who we shouldn't trade. But that's often what ends up happening is you just get people that want to just disagree with comments and stuff that have been made, and it ends up just kind of regressing. Remember, Leafs went all in, basically employed the future draft pick cupboards for years. They will have a hard time rebuilding their unsuccessful attempt at the cup, whereas Montreal is fine. Yeah. Well, that's it. Like, Montreal has the assets, right? They can afford. Like, Toronto made deals and traded away first round picks when they had no good young players coming up. Montreal does. They've got them on the team and they've got them in the system. They've got extra picks. So I have no issue with them dealing another high pick, first round pick, to pick up the piece that they need, because they're not in the same situation as Toronto was. Okay, well, look, hit the like button. Really appreciate everybody that came out. This is an interesting discussion, as always. There's always a few contrarians. That's fine. Get me worked up, but hey, that's life. Too many names, but the other GM don't want to trade. Yeah, that's about it. That's about it. Mark says, my bet is that we land O'Reilly. Yeah. And any unprotected first, would you give it for an asset? Well, why would it have to be unprotected? You'd have to be getting quite a player. I mean, I wouldn't trade an unprotected first right now because, for all you know, like, the standings are so close, they could end up. Bottom five. So no, I mean, unless it was like Crosby, no, I wouldn't do that. When you have a leak, you need a plug. If you wait too long, the hole's bigger and the plug might not fit. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, it's well, guys, I think I got caught up with everybody here. Appreciate you coming out and giving your thoughts. I don't think we got anything decided here. I don't know if Kent and Hugo are tuning in. I would say that um, you know, O'Reilly, Shen, possibilities. I wouldn't. I'm not as keen on Kadri because of his age. Hey, Steven, thank you for. Hey, I try to comment on everybody's stuff, right? Even Pierre when he's all revved up. Mark, thank you, Grant. Another great show. Headed off for a good evening. Have a good evening, all. Okay. Toronto are stressed at the moment. They have to trade there first to Boston. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Drum dude, most of my questions were asked and answered, Grant. Thank you, sir. See you in the next one. Okay. Okay. Thanks, drum dude. Jacques, we have a good fan base. Hey, absolutely. We got the best fan base. We don't always have to agree, and that's fine. Well, we never all agree. That's perfect. Okay, guys and gals. Looks like mostly guys here, but might have the odd girl tuning in. Go Habs, go! Let's hope they win. They win in Utah. That would be huge. Get 2 points there and keep rolling. We'll see you. I don't know if I'm going to do a show after. Probably do a show tomorrow at noon, live lunch. Hopefully Eric's back from Mexico. If he is, we'll do a live lunch, I think, tomorrow. And if not, maybe tomorrow night. But I will let everybody know when I'm doing my next one. Thanks, everyone. Have a grand evening. Appreciate all the comments. And have a good one. We'll talk soon.